Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can, and this time I'll be playing Call of Cthulhu. I've been in a mood for something Lovecraftian, and I've accidentally stumbled upon a video review of this game, which made an impression of me that this game supposedly is like a mechanically, from gameplay-wise, less annoying Dark Corners of the Earth, which isn't bad, because even though Dark Corners of the Earth annoyed me a lot, I feel like there was a lot of atmosphere in that game as well, and there were some elements in the world design. Maybe not the design of the actual map, but what I mean is the atmosphere of it and the Lovecraftian factor of it, as it were, that I actually kind of enjoyed. So a more polished version of that game in terms of gameplay and with less bugs and more forgiving save system is definitely not something that sounds bad to me. But I know nothing about this game in terms of story, so I'll try to, figure it out as I go, although I am a bit familiar with the most popular Lovecraftian stories. I haven't read, not Lovecraftian, Lovecraft's, the actual Lovecraft's stories from the Cthulhu Mythos. So if they will go very heavily into cliches, or if they even will base their story on some actual Lovecraft story, then I might, be a little bit spoiled in that regard. Although you could treat it in a different way. You could say that it will enhance my, my experience with the game if I know some details. Although I am by no means a Lovecraft buff, I haven't read all of his short stories, just the most popular ones. So, without further ado, let's go into the main menu first. And I don't have much to talk about here, so I guess I'll just start a new game and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So, apparently it's Boston 1924. Edward Pierce, veteran of the First World War, drowns his memories in liquor and sleeping pills. He is now a private detective, of course. Who else could he be in such a story? Who has troubles finding a case able to lift him from his torpor. Pierce must find a new case quickly or risk losing his license. So already the game has sort of immediately settled into one of Lovecraftian cliches, or at least one of the cliches that the games based on Lovecraft stories seem to fall into, which is that you play as a private detective who's haunted by his past and is, abusing some substances or whatever, which is incidentally, the exact, well, not exact same, but pretty much the exact same setup that it was in Dark Corners of the Earth, although I don't think the protagonist there was actually a soldier before, but it doesn't matter, the rest was the same. He was a private detective, fallen on hard times, and a drinker and whatever, and he had a dark secret, so I would imagine Pierce probably has as well. Okay, let's go. I am mad, it is a mercy. May the gods pity the man who in his callousness can remain sane to the hideous end. It's interesting how it highlighted sane and hideous end. Oh. Okay, I must say I wasn't expecting such a quick transition into actual, like, visceral, you know, scene with gore and whatever. So it's kind of interesting. It has caught me off guard in that regard. So I don't think I can return to here. Yeah. Which is actually kind of interesting because how does it work? Like, this gate was obviously open just a second ago because I went through it. So why is it closed now? Some seaweed, I think. So pretty much for now, there is no context. I have no idea why am I here, or what I'm doing here. Am I on a case, or I don't know, fish carcasses? Doesn't look like I can interact with any of the objects so far. I think that's a jaw. Okay, so this is locked currently. There are like candles and stuff. Is it like a shrine to the old ones or something? It would be kind of quick to drop me into the whole, Cthulhu-esque abominations part of the mythos. But oh well. Counter darkness. You must light up some items in order to interact with them. Oh, interesting. So, so there's something here, but because my character can't see it, I can't pick it up. It's actually kind of smart because it makes sure that you must consciously find an item before you can use it. It prevents, you going around blindly and clicking the interact button. But as luck would have it, there's a lantern here, which actually is kind of interesting as well. The aesthetics of this game so far, because this lantern literally gives off green light, and I'm not sure if that's something that I'm supposed to take that I'm supposed to take as an artistic choice. It's not really green in universe. It's just presented this way because it's a stylistic choice on the part of the developers of the game. Or is this lantern really green? Is it like a whoa? There must be something in the water, right, to produce such a ripple effect. But is the lantern like magical? Is it green because of some actual more fish carcasses, I think, because of some actual reason? Like, and if so, why doesn't the protagonist find it weird? Because I definitely do find it weird. Okay, I can't interact with any of those boxes, and I'm not really sure what they contain. I can't. I don't know what this symbol means, to be honest. That's certainly a bit of a... Oh, it's a bolt cutter. I can open the doors. Well, I guess this is a different set of doors than the others, but I'll circle back to make sure that I haven't missed... in my wake. Am I like hearing voices already? Because I don't think there's no one here, at least visibly. It would be kind of weird. Like, again, it's kind of a staple for Lovecraftian protagonists to slowly go insane, but it would be weird if I started out already insane. And this is the other door, right? So it just goes... Interesting, I can't cut this. it just goes in a circle, right? I'll just double check to be sure, because I want to. Okay, so apparently I can't cut it from here. It's a little bit pointless. I'm not sure why there are two doors if they all lead to the same place. All it accomplished, to be honest, is waste my time. But returning to my original point, because I'm a bit rambling today, it's kind of weird how it would be kind of weird, I mean, if the protagonist started already insane. Although I guess in a way it would be refreshing, because instead of watching his spiral into madness, which is something that is a bit of a cliche as far as Lovecraftian stories go, it would be kind of interesting to see, for example, a character who starts out as insane and then slowly regains his senses, but it kind of would go against the idea of what the Cthulhu Mythos is supposed to be like.
What a putrid offering.
Offering. Yeah, so... Wait, what was it? It's just the smoke from the lamp. It looks kind of weird because it's green. I'm not used to it looking like that. Yeah, an offering. So it does seem to reinforce the theory. I can like focus my light, but not sure what the purpose of that is. It does seem to reinforce the theory that this is some kind of a shrine or something, but I still don't know what I'm doing here and why, which I guess is kind of the point. No, it's trying to draw you in via...
You have been chosen.
Have been chosen, apparently. Doesn't sound great, to be honest. I can focus my light, but I'm not sure what's the purpose of that. I would imagine later in the game perhaps it can be used to fight some monsters, like shine the light at them and they back off or something. Because, to be honest, as far as utility goes, I feel like this is too bright to be actually useful when exploring. It's kind of distracting, really. And it's very green. That's what's interesting to me, because I'm still not sure if it's actually green in the universe or is it a stylistic choice. Oh, no other choice than this.
Behold.
Oh yeah, definitely a cult.
Already been written. But perhaps you will attempt to change your destiny.
So there was someone who looked like a policeman? So it didn't tell me much, but it might be that I was there on a case. And I'm not sure if... Because this whole dream, it could have been a nightmare, but the way it was framed was clearly kind of prophetic, because the voice was talking about how there's destiny and you can try to fight it and change it. So I wonder if it's a scene that will actually happen later in the game, and the policeman died, which seems to imply that it's like a choice element, that if it happens I might be able to save him based on some criteria. But for now, I guess let's explore the office, which again looks, very much like your typical private investigator office. You've got everything is in shambles because the guy is depressed. You have this giant clue board with the linked cases and everything. Obviously there's a glass of whiskey or scotch or something on the desk because the guy's an alcoholic. I looked around in the options and I didn't see a way to turn off like quest markers or item indications, so I'm not sure if those are permanent or if they are only here because this is still a tutorial and the game is, holding my hand a little bit. I would definitely prefer if they didn't pop up throughout all of the game, because that's a little bit distracting, but oh well. I'll go and explore everything now.
Lost battalion. Holding your position and obeying orders. That isn't courage.
Huh. So he's... Okay, it's a little distracting for me that apparently I can't jump in this game because I would like to have a closer look at this photo, but apparently he was the part of the Lost Battalion, which is actually a pretty famous American unit. I must admit I don't know like their full story, but even I know that they were at some point like lost in the Ardennes, and like the most crazy part of their story, I think that I remember, is that at one point they were bombarded by their own allies because of a like misunderstanding of their position, because nobody knew that they were like, nobody was expecting them there. So there is that. So apparently he was a part of that. Maybe the game will tell me more later about it. Maybe there is like a note system or something.
I used to be an avid reader.
Yeah, he actually has quite a substantial number of books, especially if you take into account that it's 1924, so books would be considerably more expensive at the time comparatively to today. Okay, I can't really discern any of the titles. Voyage? Something? Alaska. Okay, I can't really discern any of the titles, so let's go on. Apparently can't pick that up either. Book on medicine, but I can't...
have business here to attend to.
Ah, that was a comment regarding the door. Okay, so it's October.
The Wentworth Agency doesn't attract top-notch cases.
Certificate of Membership, United States Detective Agency of Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, can't read anything else because it's too, the cursive is too hardcore for me. What's this photo? Some trees in a storm. It's a really, to be honest, not that I'm any kind of like interior design buff, but it seems to be like an awfully stupid place to either, hang your coats, or like what I'm saying is either this should be moved or the painting should be moved, because as is, I can't really even look at it, which kind of annoys me, I'm not going to lie, because if you don't know at this point, if you stumbled upon this video on accident, I am this kind of gamer that spends a really long time looking at everything in excruciating detail, because it's actually one of my hobbies in games to appreciate all of the background details and everything, and then extrapolate what it says on about the world of the game based on what I discover.
Married woman runs off with her girlfriend. The husband couldn't understand it.
Ha! That's an interesting case if I ever saw one. Husband never understood that his wife had left him. Yeah, with her girlfriend. Keep calling on me weeks after the investigation had been closed. Okay, it doesn't look like I can open this file, which I guess is fitting, seeing how the case is literally closed. Ah, but I obtained it as an item, so maybe I can look at it in my inventory or something, but I'm going to do that later. First I want to explore the rest of the office. Another file. There's also a newspaper. Red Sox beat something, so I assume it's about sports.
A good old story of blackmail in a speakeasy.
The bar owner who hired me didn't like the way I closed the case. But when you're already outside the law, there's not a lot one can do against a private detective Who's got proof against you? So it's basically a... He keeps all of this as insurance. Okay, I'll look at the inventory later. More books. Okay, I don't recognize... It might be a famous building of some sorts. From Boston maybe. But obviously I'm not from the US, so I wouldn't know. And the book titles are once again rather unreadable. More alcohol, whiskey. Oh.
Natural sciences, linguistics, archaeology.
It's interesting for a soldier and even for a private detective to be so well read in such a broad range of subjects that are not really instinctively coming to mind when thinking on this kind of work. But then it's again kind of a Lovecraftian cliche, because a lot of his characters are like, you know, researchers or what's the word? Or people that are interested in the weird and the occult and the mysterious. So there is that. Boston Strangler escapes from state mental ward. Lots to see here at Saturdays for each day. Okay, I don't know what the second headline means. Some photos, perhaps from back when he was a soldier. Some fingerprints as well. Origin, liquor prescription. Oh, right. That's because it's prohibition, right? After the First World War, it's 1924. That's kind of fascinating, really. I don't know the exact dates of the prohibition, but it just kind of clicked in my mind, because why is it a liquor prescription? Like, it must mean, as I imagine, that he actually gets his alcohol like from a doctor, like he actually needs a prescription to be able to buy it, which is kind of interesting, actually. I wonder if the game will ever elaborate on that. Yeah, prohibition, right? There is a giant headline about it. January 18th, 1918 or 19? I can't really read it. Momentous day in world's history. Yeah, from what I've read, the prohibition was generally a giant failure overall later on. Like when they were all done with it and concluded the effects of it, it was mostly pointless, because all it did was move the bootlegging and the like moonshining into the criminal underworld. So like the organized crime got really into moonshining and distributing alcohol, and people obviously still wanted to get drunk. So, but it's an interesting period in history, especially if you're an alcoholic, you know. Okay, so what does he have to say about it?
I should get rid of all this stuff.
That wouldn't really help your current occupation of trying to find a case to avoid being fired, because obviously you'd think he probably uses this board to work on his cases. Boston hit by the most severe blizzard in years. Snow paralyzing traffic. Okay. Yeah, and there's like police seizing alcohol. Interesting. More alcohol. Whiskey. Okay, again, I can't really read the books. There's a radio. Can I change the channel, maybe? Nope, just turn it off. Which is actually a little bit better, because I'm not sure... oh, the phone's ringing. But I'll refrain from picking it up until I have explored everything, because obviously it's a plot-critical event. State Street, looking towards Old State House. So I assume this is in Boston as well. Although obviously, again, I wouldn't know for sure. Nothing interesting here. I want to explore everything before picking up because I assume the main plot will, move on afterwards. Okay,
I wonder why I still take these things.
Yeah, and he takes sleeping pills, prescribed them to me when I returned from the war. They swore that they would put an end to the nightmares. For a while now, the effect has been wearing off. Okay.
Been too long since I've slept in a bed.
Actually, why? Like, why doesn't he? Like, obviously, this is his office. This is not his house. But, is it because he doesn't like going to doesn't like falling asleep at all? So he tries to work all the time. And then finally, when he can take it, he crashes on the couch. Like, why doesn't he return to his own home at the end of the day? Especially if he isn't really doing that much, as the intro stated, because the intro, pretty much directly stated that he's been pretty worthless those couple last months or whatever, and not really doing much, and he's at risk of being fired for not actually accepting enough cases. There's like a... I don't know what this is.
Been a while since I jotted down something other than my nightmares.
Ah, so it's a journal. Okay, so there are different tabs. But you know what I'm going to do? Actually, from now onwards, I'm going to end each episode with like a summary of the new entries in my journal. That way, if you're not interested in it, you can just skip it, At the end of each episode, whenever I feel like I'm close-ish to the end of my allotted time, I'll stop to take a look at all of the new entries. And if you're not interested, you can just end the episode right then and there, instead of me, constantly switching between playing the game and reading all of the new entries as they appear, because that would be kind of distracting, I feel like. And if you're not interested in that and you just want to see the actual gameplay, then I feel like it would be kind of intruding on your immersion. So I'm not going to read it yet, and I'm going to close it. I'm going to take a look at the desk. US voted dry. Ah, right, because of the prohibition. Dry amendment, January 18th. Okay. Okay, it's 1990, I can read it here. Momentous day in world history. I can also have a drink, but the question is, should I? Should I go deeper into my alcoholism? It doesn't seem like a particularly wise choice, if you ask me. Like, from a real world perspective, because obviously alcoholism is a crippling, a crippling condition. You can destroy your life and the lives of other people if you fall deeply into it. But curiously enough, in this setting, it might actually offer some kind of a benefit, because, if you're drunk enough, you might actually not lose your mind so quickly when confronted with the horribleness of the Cthulhu Mythos. So, but I think I'll refrain from drinking for now. Okay, I'll pick up the phone because it's probably driving both you and me insane.
I'm listening.
Are you Edward Pierce, private investigator contracted by the Wentworth Detective Agency?
That's correct.
Hello, Mr. Pierce. I'm Lucy Sherifield, in charge of investigators over at Wentworth. I'm calling because of a problem with your file. A fire has destroyed some of our documents.
Is that right?
I'm so very sorry, but I have to collect your personal information yet again.
Ah, so there's like a character development system. I'm very much in favor of that, because I feel like it adds a lot to the different ways you can play the game if you can plan out your character differently. So let's look at the skills. Spot hidden. Represents your ability to find hidden objects, increases the chances of finding hidden objects. Undiscovered object will not appear in game. Wow, that's actually kind of crucial, I feel like, because if it will not appear in game, then it doesn't matter how observant I am as a player. If my character won't see it, then I can not ever find it. So I feel like maxing this would be beneficial, but let's look at the other skills. Eloquence. Eloquence represents your ability to influence those you talk to by the power of your speech. Increasing this skill increases your chances of convincing or manipulating during discussions. Okay, this is kind of interesting to me as well, because mostly when playing games I'm trying to look for like a diplomatic solution instead of a combat one. Strength, that's pretty obvious. Increases your chances of forcing doors or mechanisms or using violence during interactive discussions. Physical or verbal, so we can like intimidate people. And obviously he's mostly skilled in this already. He has 3 out of 5 because he's a soldier, so that will come naturally to him. Investigation, this is on 3 as well because he's a detective. Investigation represents your investigation talents. the beginning of each description is kind of like redundant. Investigation represents your investigating talents. Yeah, sure. That's something I would have never guessed on my own. Increases your chances of understanding past events by analyzing a crime scene. Okay, obviously this seems like an important skill for a detective as well. Psychology. Knowledge of human behavior. Increases your chances of understanding the motives based on his or her behavior. The analysis of objects. Medicine. Determining the dosage of a drug or making diagnosis of making a diagnosis or expressing your understanding of medical problem. Occultism represents your knowledge of the occult sciences. It's interesting that he already has I guess he only has 1 out of 5 is literally 0, so he explicitly isn't learned in the occult unless I decide to put points into it. Expressing your knowledge of the myth, determining and the use of occult artifacts. Okay, obviously this seems important for this kind of a game in this kind of a setting, so I think I'm going to go 2 points in this to go to level 3, 4 points in this to go to level 2, and then am I halfway in any of the others? Okay, this needs 4, so okay, I'll go 2 points into this. It still upgrades it by 10%, which is not bad. And then I'll be pretty close to level 3 once I get some additional character points later on. Okay, so I think that's reasonable. Do you want to validate? Yes.
Thank you for this information, Mr. Pierce. Our files will soon be up to date. And on a related matter, may I raise a sensitive question?
What's wrong?
As you know, we wish to closely monitor the progress of our contractors. And it would seem you've been accepting fewer new cases.
Work is scarce.
Mr. Pierce, you know as well as I do, there's never been more investigative work than now.
But are those cases worth it?
They're worth not losing your license. Show yourself worthy of the Wentworth Detective Agency, and we might keep you on the payroll. Mr. Pierce, are you still...
I'm coming.
Sir, I came here on the advice of a person whom I hold in high esteem, and I must say that I expected anything but a drunkard's lair.
You're free to leave anytime, sir.
Do you know to whom you speak?
Stephen Webster, industrialist and art collector. All of Boston knows you.
Tell me, Mr. Pierce, are you capable of handling a new case, or are you simply a deadbeat inebriate?
If you come to me, it means you're desperate.
Nobody believes me. They take me for an old fool. Sarah, my little girl, she is dead. Even you must know of her. She was Sarah Hawkins.
The painter? Yes, everyone knows her work.
The police accuse her of killing her family. They all died in a fire. Sarah, her husband, and Simon, my grandson.
I can't do anything for a woman who is already dead.
Find out the truth. They say she was mad, but I know that's a lie. She would never have done such a thing.
But if you have no proof...
I've brought all that I have. Look. I want you to look carefully at this painting. Tell me all the assumptions that come to mind.
What am I supposed to find?
Tell me if this is the work of madness. Or if, on the contrary, you manage to detect some logic, a rationality to follow so that I may understand it.
Is that all you want from me?
Yes, please.
All right. I'll look at your picture. That's all you've got? The painting?
I placed a file on your desk. It contains everything I have on the affair.
To be honest, it isn't that weird of a painting. Like, I could imagine things far more grotesque and far more, mind-bending, even within the confines of our actual reality, where hopefully all those monsters and, inhuman abominations are not real. The human imagination itself can come up with far worse designs than this. Like, this looks kind of generic to me. Like, oh, there's a monster. Wow, he has like tentacles or something. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not captivated by this in the slightest, unfortunately. But let's see what the protagonist has to say about it.
What's this symbol on the man's chest? It's as if Sarah Hawkins breathed a message into it.
But there is also another thing I wanted to comment about before I forget, especially because I'm a little bit distracted today, it seems. I'm jumping across a lot of topics, but I wanted to briefly talk about how detective agencies used to work, because I'm kind of confused, I must admit, because it seems that Pierce is actually paid a wage, like a regular wage, by his agency, which to me seems kind of weird, because, like, okay, that's, I guess that makes sense, but I wasn't expecting it, because in my mind the words private investigator clearly denote a person that you deal with this person on a one-to-one basis. I mean, one-on-one basis, as his own. Basically, I imagined private investigators were self-employed, and they negotiated their own wages with a particular client. And as far as agencies go, I imagined, judging from the diploma, that it's like it's something akin to a school. Like, you finish a course, and then you can use the name. You pay them for the membership, and then you can use the name to, like, display your credentials, to display that you are qualified. But I wasn't expecting it to be like a regular job with actual wages. So that's kind of interesting to me as well, but it only shows that I'm not knowledgeable at all on that period in history. So the shanty, marriage on Darkwater. Okay, let's look at the
warehouse on Darkwater. Some sketches of the Hawkins family. Rather thin.
shipping label. Some of it is unreadable. make out part of the address, Warehouse 36, Darkwater. The police report says that the fire started in the dining room and claimed the whole family. The police decide on a domestic accident, but they nevertheless insist on Sarah Hawkins's mental frailty. Why? A press cutting, an article written about the marriage of Sarah and Charles Hawkins, a businessman from the island of Darkwater. They live a reclusive life there with their only son, Simon. Okay, there's nothing else to be gained from this because this corresponds to... Although, wait. Marriage or... Yeah, I can't read any of this because I'm wondering if this is an exact transcript. It doesn't look like it because this seems longer than this. But I can't read this. This is far too small. So let's just go.
So, Mr. Pierce, what do you make of these elements?
Oh, answer unlocked. So is it because I put points into the occult that my character now knows something about the painting? Like, again, as I said, I myself am not at all impressed with it. It didn't startle me. It didn't, enrapture my imagination or whatever. It's pretty meh. Like, they could have come up with something more intimidating. But I will use that option because I believe that within the confines of a Lovecraftian story, that's probably true.
The meaning could be exactly as it appears. I think your daughter is sending you a message.
That's what I believe, too. It was 3 months ago that I received the call from the police telling me of my daughter's death. And yet a short while after, this painting was delivered to my home. The painting is linked to this case, can't you see? You must find the meaning behind all this.
Okay. Something's not right with this story. It's like the most generic sentence you can utter. Because it doesn't specify anything, but, well, let's try it anyway. Maybe he'll elaborate on his own.
Her husband was a big deal on the island. But the police are sticking to the accident theory. Though they mentioned Sarah's mental state was fragile. I believe you are right, sir. This case is not as simple as it appears.
I am aware of that. I believe there is more to this case than just an accident.
Read about her mental frailty. Most of the time, I'll try to explore all of the dialogue options, unless a particular one is something that I would never say in such circumstances. Like if it's, for example, offending the talker and I'm not feeling like it, or if it's an opinion that I find particularly, abhorrent or something.
You must tell me if what the police suggest about the mental state of your daughter is true.
No. Sarah had visions. Everyone knew that. She never would have hurt a fly. She only thought she saw things.
Saw things? What do you mean by that?
I never knew what she meant by that. My daughter was an enigmatic figure, Mr. Pierce. You must find out the truth about her life and death.
Okay, find out about Warehouse 36.
The sender's label mentions Warehouse 36.
That's right. It came with Sarah's last painting.
And you think your daughter could have been the sender?
That is what you must find out. Go to Darkwater. Find Warehouse 36.
Okay.
Darkwater? Never heard of the place. Where is that?
It's a small, remote island off the coast of Boston. Sarah lived there with her son and her husband.
I suppose you want to ship me off there.
Darkwater holds the secret regarding my daughter, Mr. Pierce. You must uncover it.
Okay, I think that's everything.
I think I'm beginning to understand.
I'm willing to do anything for my daughter to recover her honor.
Quiet down. I'm on your side. Let's sum things up. An artist dies with her family in a house fire. Your only clue is a sort of promontory painting sent from Darkwater right before her death.
Correct. And the rumors about her supposed folly.
which you don't totally deny.
Find that warehouse. Find out the truth regarding Sarah Hawkins' death. You will be handsomely compensated.
All right, I'll take the case. I'll go to Darkwater and look into the death of your daughter.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. I didn't expect any less coming from a man in your situation.
Something's queer, but it's not like I have a choice. Darkwater. I think I've got a book on the North Atlantic. I'll no doubt find some information on this island in there.
Okay, but before I look for the book, I feel like this episode has been long enough, so now comes the segment where I will read all of my journal, and after that I will conclude the episode, and I will follow this pattern in all of the future episodes. So if you're not interested in me reading and commenting on the journal entries, then whenever you see me open it at the end of the episode, you can just close it. You can skip the rest of it. So if you're stopping watching, then thank you for watching. See you in the next one, and if not, then let's proceed with the actual journal. So missions: leave for Darkwater. The doctor can repeat to me that I no longer need my remedy to keep my memories at bay, but I know that if I stop, the memories will return. One of these mornings I probably won't wake up. Despite the treatment, I again hear voices in my dreams, but they are different, unknown. They seem to surface from unfathomable and ancient depths. What nameless creature is calling me? Yeah, so this is referring to the voices I've heard in the intro nightmare, the one talking about destiny or whatever, and that I've been chosen, which is kind of ominous. A strange picture painted by Sarah Hawkins a short while before her tragic death was sent to her father just after the artist died. He is convinced that she is the sender. He brought me the painting so that I could examine it. Stephen Webster, the wealthy industrialist, came to my office. He wants to reopen the Sarah Hawkins case, named after his daughter, who died in a fire alongside her entire family. I must examine the documents he compiled in order to know more about the case. All that remains is that I leave for Darkwater. I'll certainly find something on Darkwater in my bookcase. Okay, and this is about Pierce personally. So there's skills, which I can't do anything with because I've spent all of my... wait. Why didn't I pay attention to that? I felt... why didn't I pay attention to that? I feel like this is kind of important, that medicine and occult skills can only be improved by objects discovered in the environment. So it seems that during the quote-unquote character creation, it was the only time I was allowed to actually put points into this or this, but I'm still mostly happy with my choice anyway. I upgraded occultism a bit, and also spot hidden, but I guess from now on I can't upgrade those unless I find specific items. But there's also a sanity tab, which is again a bit of a cliche in Lovecraftian games. There was a sanity system in Dark Corners of the Earth as well, and actually I have a pretty vivid memory of once failing the game because the protagonist literally killed himself when I was staring at a statue of Cthulhu for too long. Like he pulled out his pistol, and he shot himself in the head. So there's that. And it seems there are like various mental mental trauma points that you can get, because there's only one available now, Nightmares, which relates to the backstory, I would imagine. But there's a bunch of them. So Edward Pierce is a veteran of the First World War, where he took part in the Mouse Argonne? I don't know how to read that. I apologize. Argonne Offensive. He is one of the few survivors of the Lost Battalion, American unit that suffered heavy casualties from enemy and allied artillery fire. Yeah, that's the bit I remembered. Forced to hold their position for several days, surrounded by the bodies of their fallen comrades without food or medical supplies, the soldiers were considered as lost by their fellow countrymen. Pierce is traumatized by these events. He consumes sleeping pills and liquor to ward off nightmares that haunt him. And my condition is currently stable, confident in your abilities and your Cartesian mind. Cartesian, I think, the way you would say it in English, because it obviously comes from well, how do you say his name in English? Descartes? Because it's weird, because I've been taught the Polonized version of many of those names. Like, for example, in Polish, I would just say Cartesiusz, but in English, I'm not sure how you, like, how does the anglicized version of that philosopher's name said, but whatever. Cartesian mind, you conduct your investigation by sticking to the facts, your convictions, and your perception of reality. Your conclusions are logical and reliable. Okay? So I would imagine before the end of the game, this is likely to change. Okay, so there's a tab on Darkwater. Stephen Webster, age 63, businessman, wealthy businessman, well respected in the Boston area. Came to see me in order that I investigate the death of his only daughter, Sarah Hawkins. The man accepts neither refusals nor inconvenient truths. He is ready to do anything to prove that his daughter was not mad. Charles Hawkins, deceased. Ship owner, was a local celebrity on Darkwater. The heir of a ship owner family, he used to travel a lot. He met Sarah Hawkins during a trip in Paris. They fell in love, got married, and Hawkins took her to the remote island of Darkwater. They had a child named Simon and lived a very secretive life. Sarah Hawkins, deceased, painter. A painter known for their tortured artistic universe. She was worshipped for the strangeness of her work and the rarity of her public appearances. I seem to remember that she once said, "In paint what my dreams whispered to me." Her marriage to Charles Hawkins years ago surprised high society columnists. A wealthy Boston heiress, known for her party-going, chooses to follow her new husband and live in a recluse on the island of Darkwater. She disappeared from the front pages of newspapers, and nobody heard any more about her. Even her death in a fire remained a secret. Only her father, Stephen Webster, continues to seek the truth. Now, I must say, as much as this description is trying to paint her as this tortured soul that's painting those macabre sights that her dreams whisper to her and whatever, the actual painting that I saw in game is pretty mundane almost. Like, I really feel they could have designed something more eye-catching, but I wonder if we'll see more of her pieces as the game goes on. And there's the son. Occupation schoolboy. Died in the fire and claimed his whole family. Deceased. He has a remarkably dead-eyed face. He looks almost like a doll or a mannequin. I wonder if that's actually relevant or if it's just the limitations of the graphics. Clues. Painting by Sarah Hawkins depicts a monstrous silhouette threatening a woman and a child. Oh, I didn't notice a child at first, so she's defending her child. Flames can be made out in the background. The father thinks that this is linked to the death of his daughter. And this is the exact same description I've already read when investigating those for the first time. And there's the inventory, a lighter, Lost Battalion. My old lighter was engraved with the memory of the 77th Infantry Division and the men of the Lost Battalion who fell. Okay. Oh, there's also a knowledge tab. Case closed. Okay, so I can't do anything more with that. Nor with that. And I've read the description. So it seems there's no point in investigating the items for the second time once you've once you've picked them up, because this description and this is exactly the same that it was when I picked it up. It isn't elaborated upon. But there is still... Oh, I missed those tabs. Places. Pierce Investigation Agency. My private detective agency contracted to the Wentworth Detective Agency. After the Great War, I decided to set up in Boston, when there is no lack of work for guys like me. One small-time case follows the other. Adultery, settled scores, disappearances that are not actually disappearances. The salt office couch is less comfortable than a real bed, and I should probably get rid of these empty bottles, but this place is mine for the moment. And the occult. Oh, okay, so this is actually different than the mundane description of the painting. This is probably because I took the occult skill. Intuitive and visionary artist for some, overpriced impostor for others, Sarah Hawkins leaves nobody indifferent. This mysterious and reserved painter offers strange images with violent colors and wild strokes to the world. If her paintings are testimony to her vision of the world, then the world of Sarah Hawkins is a portal open to the other dimensions. Extract from a notebook of Edward Pierce, private detective. And with that, I'm actually done with the journal, which also concludes this episode, so that's everything for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!